believe in yourself, and you got to work your ass off. Thanks, Chelsea, and everybody for having me here at the Sealy Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited to be here. Can you hear me in the back? Good, I got a big voice anyway. Big voice, big mouth. I am honored and thrilled to be here today, and I love the title of the luncheon, Lunch and Learn. Hopefully, through a couple of points I make, you can learn something to help your business. I really want to congratulate Bott's title, being in business 141 years, Citizen State Bank 117 years. In this day and age, that is just incredible. Let's give them a big round of applause. I've only been at it 42 years, so I got 99 more years to catch up with Bott's. Hope I live that long. However, before I launch into this semi-brilliant dissertation, let me give you some of my less than illustrious background, so I hope you know where I'm not headed to. You see, I was doing real well about 44 short years ago. I was 28 years old, living at home with my folks in Dallas, where I grew up at, and I had kind of a menial job. I was sacking groceries, making about $3 an hour. And there's nothing wrong with sacking groceries, nothing wrong with making minimum wage, but I kind of felt like with my college education and my background that maybe I should be doing something a little better than that. Anyway, I had a bad attitude. And the name of that convenience store where I was working, I was located in a rough neighborhood there in Northeast Dallas. The name of that convenience store, it was called a Stop and Rob. And one day the boss walked in and looked over at me and said, son, you got a bad attitude. And I said, yes, sir, I know it, sir, but I'm trying to change. He said, son, I got news for you. So the thoughts raced through my mind. What's the news? A raise, a promotion? What's it going to do for me? I said, sir, that's great. What are you going to do for me? He said, boy, you're fired. I said, oh no. I went home that night to my folks' house in Dallas. And I went into a depression for several weeks. I felt sorry for myself. I felt like I was a victim of circumstances. Like, unfortunately, millions of Americans nowadays, I felt like I was entitled to a nice home, nice car, nice job without having to work for it. So I went into a deep depression for about 6 or 8 weeks. Woke up kind of early one Sunday morning, several weeks later, stumbled in the television where the television was. I turned the television on, and there was a religious program on this Sunday morning. I really wasn't looking for any religion at the television, but the preacher was preaching a message, so I decided I'd watch for a while. I turned the television on, and the preacher said, you know, there's a lot of you out there in television land today that are throwing your lives away. He said, you're wallowing in the throes of self-pity. He said, you feel sorry for yourself. You feel like the world owes you a favor. He said, let me tell you something. The world doesn't owe you a favor. You owe the world a favor. He said, get up, go to work, and make something out of your life. And that was an absolutely seminal event in my life. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it was 44 years ago. He said, get up, go to work, and make something out of your life. And that really kind of shook me to my core. So the next day I got up, and within a couple of days, I found a job at a small furniture store. And the problem was that furniture store was located about 60 miles from my parents' house, and I had no car. So I learned that in business and in life, you do what you have to do. You don't pay the price, you enjoy the price. So I rode the bus 2 hours out there every morning and 2 hours back at night. But I found something I was good at. I was good at retailing. And after about 18 months, I began to dream maybe have my own furniture store. However, I didn't want to open a furniture store up there in Dallas to compete with my boss who taught me the business. So I asked him in late 1980 where it'd be a good place to start a furniture store somewhere in Texas other than Dallas. He said, kid, I understand Houston's a boomtown, try Houston. At that time, my beloved brother George, who I played football with at the University of Texas many years ago, was a real estate agent in Houston. I told him what I was trying to do. He called me back about a week later, and he said, I got your location. So I was all excited about this entrepreneurial project we were going to do. So I went out to dinner that night with my little girlfriend. Her name was Linda. She'd been with me through all my ups and downs and many problems and failures in life. She got in the car that night. I said, Linda, I got great news for you tonight. She said, what's that, Mac? I said, we're going to move to Houston. We're going to get in the furniture business. She said, there ain't no way. I said, Linda, you understand? So we're going to move to Houston, get in the furniture business. We just might do well. We might make some money. She said, look, Mac, you don't understand something. I said, what's that? She said, all my friends are here in Dallas, went to school here. I've got a good job. I'm not moving to Houston. I saw a slogan on the wall one day. I adopted it. It said, life offers you a second chance. It said, life offers you a second chance. It's called tomorrow. Suit up. Pretty good, isn't it? Innovate or evaporate. You know, the problem with me is I've been tremendously successful over 42 years. And the problem is that we become calcified. And that saying, this is the way we've always done it, dominates our conversation. The biggest success to future success is your past success. Because we live in an ever-changing world, don't we? You know, and I grew up, television was a big thing. Now these kids get all their information from that cell phone. And they watch football games with cell phones. It's a totally different world. So you got to innovate or evaporate. You got to take on those new things and try them. And about 90% of them will fail, but the 10% that succeed will get you there. Interesting how I saw a news flash that U.S. Steel was just sold to Nippon Steel, a Japanese company, a month or so ago. For decades, U.S. Steel was the biggest company in the country. The biggest company in the country, but they didn't innovate. A lot of you people in here that are my age grew up at Sears and Roebuck, the world's greatest retailer. They owned retail for 100 years. Now they're all gone. We all have to embrace innovation. Next, the American dream is still as viable for all you young people in here as it was for people my age or is for people my age. People ask me all the time, could you start Gallery Furniture today in a New York minute? All you got to do is get up earlier, stay late, and innovate. Get up early, stay late, and innovate. People say the American dream is over. I totally disagree with that. The American dream is about having a dream, finding a job you love to do, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Can't wait to get to work in the morning. Can't wait to take care of those customers. Next, the customer is the business is the customer. Some of y'all have been at the entrepreneur serving customers for a year. Some have been serving customers 5 years, some for 10, some for 20, maybe some for 50. Here's a haunting question. Remember the first customer you ever had? You remember the first sale you ever had, or the first customer you ever served? Remember how eager you were to take care of that customer and to make sure everything went right with their order and make sure everything was just perfect? Because that was a big deal to you. Now, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, are you just as excited about serving that customer every day, or is it just another transaction to you? To that customer, it's a big deal. The customer is the business is the customer. And last but not least, work is life's greatest therapy. I have a lot of anecdotal knowledge. My anecdotal knowledge comes from being in the front of that store 42 years. People ask me all the time, they come up there on Sunday night and they see me there, they say, when are you going to retire? I said, I'm going to die right here at the front desk and I'll die happy. You know, over the last 42 years, I've given away millions of dollars to people. And I've helped a lot of people. But finally, I saw the same people coming back all the time. And I figured out to myself, this ain't working. And I have a little daughter, her name's Elizabeth. She has a severe mental illness, she'll always have it, called obsessive compulsive disorder. She was told by all the psychiatrists we took her to in Houston when she was in the 5th or 6th grade that we should put her in an institution for the rest of her life. But somehow the wonderful teachers at her high school, Westfield High School, public high school in Houston, helped her get through high school. And then she fought that mental illness for years, went in and out of hospitals. Then she decided she wanted to help people with the same illness she had and ended up getting a PhD from U of H, and now she's one of the premier OCD clinicians in the world. But she'll rightfully tell you that work saved her life. Working with her patients saved her life. My friend Temple Grandin is the world's premier expert on animal husbandry. She's fully autistic. Never talked till she was 5 years old. I was up at her birthday party at Colorado State University, and a big building there was dedicated to her. And she put on the front of the building, working with animals saved my life, Temple Grandin. She was in 7th grade, her mother sent her away to a boarding school, and they put her in charge of mucking out the horse stalls, and she found something she loved to do, and changed her life. So, the anecdotal knowledge I have learned is that all of us need to get more Americans to work. All of us need to get more Americans to work. I got 3 guys up there working for me right now that they said that job saved their life in the last year. And hundreds of others have been through there. What we need is work. We don't need more welfare. We don't need more government handouts. We need to find people a job they love to do, because work brings purpose and meaning to life. Work brings purpose and meaning to life. So it's incumbent upon all of us entrepreneurs here to grow our business. To go to bed at night thinking about how we're going to grow the business, wake up in the morning thinking about how we're going to grow the business, and think about how we can employ more American workers. I was at Texas A&M about a month ago, speaking to the business school honor students, a great group of young people, about 100. So I got up there and I talked about buy American products, support American jobs. And I talked about my history in the furniture business. It used to be I'd go to North Carolina and you'd go through these factory towns where these giant furniture factories were, like Broyhill or Henry Don, all of them. And that factory would employ thousands of American workers. And because that factory employed thousands of American workers, there was a huge infrastructure around the factory of schools and restaurants and car dealerships that supported the workers that worked in those factories, those good paying jobs. Well, then some genius MBA decided they could make the furniture cheaper if they made it in China or Vietnam or wherever, Thailand. And they moved the factory out. And the town dried up. And you know what happened? An oxycodone epidemic. Because their life had no purpose, no meaning anymore. They had no job. And fast forward 20 years now, it's fentanyl. What are we doing to ourselves? When did this country decide to denigrate work? What's wrong with starting at the bottom and working your way up because you're ambitious? So I gave this speech to these kids at Texas A&M. One of the bright students asked me, he said, you know, it's a global economy. He said, I don't see anything wrong with buying products from overseas, blah, blah, blah. What difference does it make? I said, you know, I've been coming to College Station making speeches over here in College Station, Bryan, for 30 years. I said, and every time I come here, there's more buildings, more restaurants, more stuff going on, high rises, housing developments. It's boomtown. He said, yeah, it sure is. I said, what would happen to Bryan College Station if you took Texas A&M out? He got the point. Our job is to provide jobs for Americans, because people that have a job have purpose and meaning in their life. My final story about my friend Yvonne Strait. She started Briarwood, a school for children with severe mental challenges 60 years ago, and now Brookwood out here in Brookshire, Texas. Brookwood, they have 99 full-time citizens. They don't call them residents, they don't call them patients, they are citizens. And they treat them that way. And every citizen at Brookwood has mental handicaps. Some have Down syndrome, some got in a severe car or motorcycle accident and had brain damage. Everybody's got a problem. But every citizen at Brookwood has a full-time job, even the paraplegics. Because Yvonne has learned over the years that work brings purpose and meaning to life. So they had this big-time business executive who got in a severe motorcycle accident, brain damage, and Brookwood. And the jobs they do are kind of simple and repetitive, and this guy refused to do any of those jobs. Finally, after 4 or 5 months, they found a job he liked to do, and he got good at it. So one day, a Friday afternoon, Yvonne was sitting in her office, and she's about ready to go home at 4 or 5 o'clock. She sees this guy running down the hallway with a piece of paper in his hand. And he's sprinting full speed, and Yvonne's very startled by all this. And the guy burst in her office holding this piece of paper in his hand. She said, John, what in the world is the problem? What's the matter? He said, Miss Strait, look what I got, look what I got. She said, John, what'd you get? He said, I got a paycheck. He said, I am a real person now. That's our job. Hire more Americans. Hire more Americans. Give people purpose and meaning in their life. Thanks very much.